Narayana Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam Nastapayeshu Abhitrayeshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavate Uttama Shloke
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhakti Bhakti Naistiki.
Bhagavati Naistiki.
So we continue Canto 7, the Science of God. Chapter 9, Prahlad pacifies Lord Nrsimhadev with prayers. Text 36. Evam sahasravadanam rishirakaroru
Evam Sahasravadanan Visirasya Karo
Nasadya karna nayana varana yudhadyam
Nasasya Karna Nayana Varana Yudhayam
Mayamayam sarupalakshita sannivesham
Mayam Sarupalakshita Sannivesam
Dritsva mahapurushamapamudam virinchaha.
Drishtra Mahapurusham Apamudam Virincha.
Lord Brahma could then see you possessing thousands and thousands of faces, feet, heads, hands, thighs, noses, ears, and eyes. You were very nicely dressed, been decorated and bedecked with varieties of ornaments and weapons. Seeing you in the form of Lord Vishnu, your symptoms and form being transcendental, your legs extending from the lower planets, Lord Brahma achieved transcendental bliss. So when he was first created, he was exploring Brahma, and then he saw, after his tapasya, then he saw this form. This is known as a Mahapurusha form of the Lord. So Brahma saw the Supreme Lord as Mahapurusha. In the second paragraph, Srila Prabhupada writes, the word Maya Mayam means spiritual knowledge. This is explained by Madhvacharya. Maya Mayam Jnana Sarupam. The word Maya Mayam, describing the Lord's form, should not be taken to mean illusion. Okay? Rather, the Lord's form is factual, and seeing this form is the result of perfect knowledge. So by Maya Mayam also you can say by his power, by his own potency. Okay. So Lord Brahma saw everything when he looked at the Supreme Lord. And so Madhvacharya quotes another verse. Gandhakya devata yadvat tivim vyapya tistati evam vyaptam jagat vishnum brahmatma stam dadarshaha. Brahma saw that as aromas and colors spread throughout the earth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead pervades the cosmic manifestation in a subtle form. So the form is spiritual, it is not material, and it's known as the Mahapurusha form. Okay. Therefore, it exhibited many hands, heads, etc., etc.
It's not written here.
Yeah.
Mahapurusha form.
Okay. Text 37.
Tasmai Bhavan Hayasirastanuvam hi vibrat.
Tasmai Bhavan Hayasirastanuvam hi vibrat.
Veda Druhav Atibalau Madhukaita Bhakyao.
Veda Druhav Atibalau Madhukaita Bhakyao.
Bhakvanaya Chuti Ganamscha Rajam Satam Rajas Tamascha.
Atmanayakshruti ganam charajastamasa.
Sattvam Tava Priyatamam Tanu Amanati.
Tattvam tava priyatamam tanumam ananti. My dear Lord, when you appeared as Hayagriva with the head of a horse, you killed two demons known as Madhu and Kaitava, who were full of the modes of passion and ignorance. Then you delivered the Vedic knowledge to Lord Brahma. For this reason, all the great saints accept your forms as transcendental, untinged by material qualities. So it is said that at one time Brahma was was sleeping after creation or something like that. So these demons came, Madhu and Kaitavan, they tried to kill him actually. They want to control everything. So in the same way, you can say the modern day Prabhupada says the modern day demons think that there is no life in the beginning of creation. But from Srimad Bhagavatam, we understand that the first living creature created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead was Lord Brahma, who is full of Vedic understanding. Actually, it is said that when Brahma is sleeping, his ear wax, came out, and that became Madhu and Kaitava. If I remember. Okay. Hare Krishna. So sometimes you go out and preach or distribute books to people. You will be attacked by demons. That's what Prabhupada says. Sometimes devotees are engaged, but they are attacked by demons. But at the same time, they should understand that they cannot be harmed because the Lord is their protector. So that the mood must be there when we go out to preach. Understanding the Lord will protect. Of course, you don't take unnecessary risk, of course. You see the guy is coming out with a gun or what, you don't stand and still preach to them. You better pack and go somewhere. Be practical. So, in the last paragraph, Srila Prabhupada quotes Avajananti ma mudda manusim tanum ashritam, to indicate that people like unintelligent men, asuras, mayavadis, all of them cannot accept the Lord's form. So they think that the Lord is also just like them. So whenever the Lord appears, whether as a fish, a tortoise, a hog, or any other form, one should understand that he maintains his transcendental position. So externally he may look like a fish, but he is still Purnam. He is still pure and perfect. And then his only business, as stated here, is Hatva, to kill the demons. Look who's here. Our Bengali boy is here. Nice to see you, Nish. Okay, so the main thing is he comes to protect his devotees and to destroy Vinashchaya cha Duskrita. So Prabhupada says demons will be killed because they are against the Lord's civilization, like that. Text 38.
Yuttam ritarya grishi deva jasavatare.
Yuttam ritarya grishi deva jasavatare.
Lokam vibhavayasi hamsi jagat pratipan.
Lokam vibhavayasi hamsi jagat pratipan.
Dharmam mahapurushapasi yuganuvrittam.
Dharmam mahapurushapasi yuganuvrittam.
Channa kalau yat abhavas triyugota sotam sattvam.
Channa kalau yarabhavas triyugata sattvam. Translation. In this way, my Lord, you appear in various incarnations as a human being, an animal, a great saint, a demigod, a fish, or a tortoise, thus maintaining the entire creation in different planetary systems and killing the demoniac principles. According to the age, O my Lord, you protect the principles of religion. In the age of Kali, however, you do not assert yourself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore you are known as Three Yuga, or the Lord who appears in 3 yugas. That means in 3 yugas, he asserts himself. He puts himself, I am the Lord, with great force sometimes, and with his prowess and with his opulence, everything. But in Kali Yuga, generally he doesn't come or shows off. So Prabhupada in the purport talks very nicely about how the Lord appeared in order to protect the fallen souls of Kali Yuga. Okay. it's not just he will come to protect the great devotee, he also comes to protect people like us. We are very fallen. So there are 4 yugas or millenniums. We all know that. Satya, Treta, Dwapara and Kali. In all yugas but Kali Yuga, the Lord appears in different incarnations and asserts himself as the Supreme Personality of God. That means everybody knows when he comes, he is the Supreme Lord. But although Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who appears in Kali Yuga, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he never asserted himself as such. Right? Whenever you say, Mahaprabhu, you are God, he'll close his ears. Yeah? And then he'll say, Krishna, Krishna, run away. So Prabhupada writes that also. On the contrary, whenever Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was addressed as being as good as Krishna, he blocked his ears with hands, denying his identity with Krishna, because he was playing the part of a devotee. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, Krishna came as Mahaprabhu to show us how to worship Krishna. Lord Chaitanya knew that in Kali Yuga there would be many bogus incarnations pretending to be God, and therefore he avoided asserting himself as the Supreme Personality of God. If he had said that, then everyone will also say he is bogus also. So then they will commit offenses. Right, so there's a famous verse from the 11th canto, Krishna Varnam Disa Krishna Sangapangashta Parshadam Yagye Sankirtana Praye Yajantihi Sumedasa. Sumedasa means those are very intelligent. They will worship the Supreme Lord, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, through the Sankirtan Yagna. Okay, so that is very important to understand. So such personalities are known as Sumedasa. Su means very intelligent. Medasa means intelligent. Sumedasa very. So those who take up worshipping Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you should consider yourself very intelligent. But that's not enough. No? You have to work. Text 39.
Naitan manastava katasu vaikuntanatha.
Naita manastava katasu vikuntanatha.
Sampriyate durita dushtam asadhu tibram.
Sampriyate durita dushtam asadhu tibram.
Kamaturam harsha shoka bhayai sanartam.
Kamaturam harshuka vayashannatam.
Tasmin katham tava gatim vimsrami dina.
Tasmin katham tava gatim vimsrami dina. My dear Lord of the Vaikuntha planets, there's no anxiety. Vaikuntha means no kunta. Kunta is distress. So, Vaikuntha, no anxiety. My mind is extremely sinful and lusty, being sometimes so-called happy and sometimes so-called distressed. My mind is full of lamentation and fear, and it always seeks more and more money. Thus, it has become most polluted and is never satisfied in topics concerning you. I am therefore most fallen and poor. In such a status of life, how shall I be able to discuss your activities? So, as Prabhupada says, Prahlad Maharaj is taking the role. 2 things, he's humble. So, in humility, he's speaking like that. But in the same, from another point of view, he is representing, Prabhupada says, the common people. Okay. But actually, it's his humility. He feels fallen. Okay. And in this prayer, he's actually saying that the mind is so difficult. So, Prabhupada writes in the purport, the mind becomes sinful because we are always engaged in sinful activities. If you engage in devotional activities, then it gets purified. But if you engage in sinful activities, then it becomes sinful like that. That means anything not connected with Krishna consciousness should be understood to be sinful. Okay, a very simple definition. In the middle of the thing, Namam Diskrituno Mudda, that paragraph after that, therefore, especially in this age of Kali, the mind must be cleansed. And this is possible only by the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Okay? Cheto Darpanam Marjanam. So that's the only way we can clear. In this age, the process of chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is the only method by which to cleanse the sinful mind. Okay, so everyone should chant. So it's very important to chant. Don't just take it for granted. When the mind is completely cleansed of all sinful reactions, one can then understand its duty in the human form of life. The Krishna consciousness movement is meant to educate sinful men. And that's our purpose, and we should help people who want to progress so that they may become pious simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So we all should learn to chant this nicely. So that's the formula for age of Kali. Harinam chanting. You can't do any other process properly, or you won't get the results. When you follow this chanting of the holy name, you will advance spiritually quickly. If you try any other method, it will take a very, very, very long time, or you won't be successful. The efficacy is not there if you try any other process. The most potent process is chanting Hare Krishna in Kali Yuga. Okay? So we cannot think I will do this and I will do that. No, you have to follow what the Acharya has already stated. And in the Brihad Naradeya Purana, it says, Kalo nasteva 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 gatiranyata. You cannot use any other process except Harinam. Okay? In the last paragraph, Srila Prabhupada says, Prahlad further confirms that if one's mind is always absorbed in thought of Krishna, the very qualification will purify one and keep one purified always. Okay? To understand the Lord and His activities, one must free his mind from all contamination of the material world, and this one can achieve by simply chanting the Lord's holy name. Then you can get free from material bonds. Next 40. Okay, what's the question?
So, how can we, like, you say that the cleanse of the mind, body cleanses, toxins are gone. So, mind is how we...
That means you won't have attachment to material things. You will, in your life, you will not have any more attraction to material things. Or the material attachment goes away slowly. You can feel you're not so attractive. So that's one of the symptoms of chanting nicely. The other symptom is you're attracted to hearing only the glories of the Lord or anything to do with devotional activities. Okay? So that's how you know you're making advancement. Yes? Text 40. Brahma Samhita. Jivai gato chita vikarshati ma vitirta.
Shishno nyatastva gudaram shravanam kutaschet.
Shishno nyatastva gudaram shravanam kutaschet.
Grano nyatascha paladrikva cha karma shaktir.
Grano nyatascha paladrikva cha karma shaktir.
Bhavya sapatnya evake patim nunanti.
Bhavya sapatnya ivageha patim nunanti. My dear Lord, O infallible one, my position is like that of a person who has many wives, all trying to attract him in their own way. For example, the tongue is attracted to palatable dishes, the genitals to sex with an attractive woman, and the sense of touch to contact with soft things. The belly, although filled, still wants to eat more, and the ear, not attempting to hear about you, is generally attracted to cinema songs. The sense of smell is attracted to yet another side. The restless eye is attracted to scenes of sense gratification, and the active senses are attracted elsewhere. In this way, I'm certainly embarrassed. Of course, Srila Prabhupada translates that to Shravanam into sweet music. And he understands. People are attracted to Bollywood songs, like that, right? Hollywood, Bollywood, Tollywood. Right? So all those.
Bollywood. Lollywood also.
Lolly, I don't know. But I know Bollywood is there. Then Collywood is there.
Malayalam.
Collywood.
Is Malayalam. Bollywood is some other thing.
So anyway, all these woods are not good for you. Because they are all cinema songs. Cinema songs means sense gratification. Cinema songs are sense gratification. Practically, you can see all the senses are used for sense gratification, not connected with Krishna. So therefore, he's saying he's embarrassed. Most of us are like that. We should be feeling embarrassed. Because the human form of life is meant for God realization. Trying to understand who God is. And how to understand that? We have to practice Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. And chanting the holy name. So when we do that, our senses will be protected. If you don't do that, the senses will be attracted to material enjoyment. Like that. So this is also a system the Acharya has given. So we are supposed to be practicing that. If you don't practice, you cannot become a real devotee, actually. Yeah. So when we join the temple or Hare Krishna movement, first thing they tell us is to chant so we can control our tongue and so on. And even Bhaktivinoda Thakur here, Prabhupada says that the tongue is considered the most greedy and unconquerable. Very hard to control the tongue. To stop this attraction of the tongue, one is authoritatively advised not to accept meat or similar uneatable things, nor to allow the tongue to hanker to drink or smoke. So all this will take you away from your goodness. It will lead you into ignorance and sinful activities. So Prabhupada is talking about the four regulative principles. Even the drinking of tea and coffee is not permitted. Similarly, the genitals must be restricted from illicit sex. Without such restraint of the senses, one cannot make advancement in Krishna consciousness. Meaning, if you don't control your senses, you will be sinful. So therefore, when you are sinful, you cannot worship the Supreme Lord. Bhogaishvara prashaktanam taya rita chetasam. So one cannot have the attraction to the Supreme Lord. The only method of controlling the senses is to chant and hear the holy name of the Lord. Otherwise, one will always be disturbed. Okay? As a householder with more than one wife would be disturbed by them for sense gratification. If you don't chant, you'll find your mind will take you in so many places. So if you have free time, you should chant. You know? Always chant or read something of Krishna consciousness. Don't say you don't have time. Text 41.
Evam sakarma patitam bhavaittaranyam.
Evam sakarma patitam bhavaittaranyam.
Anyonya janma maranasana vitam.
Anyonya janma maranasana vitam.
Paschanjanam swapara vigraha vairamat maitram.
Paschanjanam swapara vigraha vairamaitram.
Hanteti parachara piprihi mudam adya.
Anteti parachara piprihi mudam adya. My dear Lord, you are always transcendently situated on the other side of the river of death. But because of the reactions of our own activities, we are suffering on this side. Indeed, we have fallen into this river and are repeatedly suffering the pains of birth and death and eating horrible things. Now kindly look upon us, not only upon me, but also upon all others who are suffering. And by your causeless mercy and compassion, deliver us and maintain us. So he's praying not just for himself, he's praying for all the welfare of every living entity. So Prabhupada says there's two types of Vaishnava, the Vajananandis and the Gostyanandis. Bhajananandis means they do bhajan. But generally, these Bhajananandis, they will be in one place only. So the Bhajananandis worship the Lord only for their own personal benefit. But the Gostyanandis, they travel to preach. Try to elevate all others to Krishna consciousness so that they may be saved. So they will take risks to help others. Okay. Now, if they don't come and help anyone, then how would any people outside know the benefit of Krishna, right? So therefore, the sannyasis act like a Gostyanandis, like that. Okay. And these people are also materially contemporary. You'll meet so many people, don't know the goal of life and so on. Or they will have manufactured their own lifestyle or philosophy like that. But that is very bad, because if they do not connect with Krishna, then they have to come back and take birth in one of the 8.4 million species, as Prabhupada mentions here. So when they don't want to take up Krishna consciousness, Krishna has said these people are, when he says, Namam Duskritino Mudha. So all these people are Duskritas, impious people. Okay. So they see all kinds of nonsense going in this material world, and they can sometimes laugh at those things. But they don't realize that they themselves, because they practice all this nonsense, will also take birth to become like those pigs, crocodiles, and so on and so on. Prabhupada says pigs are eating stool, crocodiles are eating all kinds of rotting flesh. But people in general nowadays, they are eating that, right? So then they are laughing at these animals. Then in the next life, they will become like these animals, so that they can enjoy the abominable things, like that. So we are supposed to train ourselves to become Krishna conscious ourselves, and to help others become Krishna conscious. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada says, he quotes from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Yare Dekatarikaha Krishna Upadesha. So that one must become a sincere servant of Krishna, and then help others become a sincere servant of Krishna also. Text 42.
Konvartate kila guru bhagavan prayasa. Kota dane sabhavas sambhavalopaheto. Murte shubhaya mahatanugraha arthabandho. Kimte nate priyatanan
anusevatamna. O my Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, original spiritual master of the entire world, what is the difficulty for you who manage the affairs of the universe? In delivering the fallen souls engaged in your devotional service, you are the friend of all suffering humanity, and for great personalities it is necessary to show mercy to the foolish. Therefore, I think that you will show your causeless mercy to persons like us who engage in your service. In the beginning of the Prabhupada says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very favorable to devotees who act according to the instructions of his own pure devotee. So we become favorable when we follow Srila Prabhupada's instructions, not make our own things. What is the reason? Prabhupada continues. In other words, one must become the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. As Mahaprabhu says, Gopi Bhartu Padakamalaya Dasa Dasa Anudas. So we have to serve. It's very important. Take a humble mood, and then we become qualified. So, few lines down, Prabhupada says, the more one becomes the servant of the servant, the more one becomes perfect in devotional service. So, devotional service, when we do, means we must be in the mood of a servant. Not just do for sense gratification or for people to recognize us. Not like that. That's not the goal. Rather, it's to become a good servant. So if you are a good servant, that means you are perfecting devotional service also. That's what it is. And then later on, in the same paragraph, Srila Prabhupada says, Krishna se tomara, Krishna diti para. Krishna is the property of his pure devotee. Krishna se tomara, you have Krishna. And if you take shelter of a pure devotee, he can deliver Krishna very easily. Just like Yasya Prasada, Bhagavad Krishna, Yasya Krishna, Nagati Guru. By the mercy of Guru, you get Krishna. Like that. And finally, in the last paragraph, Srila Prabhupada says, another significant point in this verse is that by devotional service, Prahlad Maharaj does not want to benefit alone. Mostly, we only want for ourselves. We don't want anyone to get Krishna also. So that is the thing Prabhupada is trying to tell us. No, we want everyone to go back to God. Rather, he prays to the Lord that all of us fallen souls in this material world may, by the grace of Lord, engage in the service of his servant and thus be delivered. The grace of the Lord is not at all difficult for the Lord to bestow. That means the Lord can easily give us what we want. That's the grace, the mercy. And thus Prahlad Maharaj wants to save the whole world by spreading Krishna consciousness. So we are following in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada, who follows in the footsteps of Prahlad Maharaj. So we also must think like that. So like maybe Christmas holidays, you can all give your friends Bhagavad Gita or Nectar of Instruction as a gift. Or you can say, this is our Bible, I want to give it to you. It can help you. Lots of yoga is there. Like that. Because you're very dear to me, I'm giving you this book. Like that. So they will appreciate it. They may or may not read, that's a different thing. But at least they'll appreciate. And when they appreciate, they can get Krishna's blessings. Text 43. Naivo dise paraduvadhyayavaitaranyas
Vadviryagayana Mahatmatamagna Chitta
Vadviryagayana Mahamritamagna Chittaha
Sochetato Vimukachetasa Indriyarta
Sochetato Vimukachetasa Indriyarta
Maya Sukaya Param Udvahato Vimultan
Maya Sukaya Param Udvahato Vimultan. Oh, best of the great personalities, I am not at all afraid of material existence. For wherever I stay, I am fully absorbed in thoughts of your glories and activities. My concern is only for the fools and rascals who are making elaborate plans for material happiness and maintaining their families, societies, and countries. I'm simply concerned with love for them. Now you can see Paradukta Dukki. This is a pure devotee. He's worried for all the other people. This world is full of suffering. Dukhalayam ashashvatam. And yet people are making plans to enjoy. So therefore he is feeling great distress for all this fallen condition. So in the purport, the second paragraph, Srila Prabhupada says there is a plan for material nature. That means the Lord has set a plan. Personally known as Durga, to punish the demons. Although the Asuras, the godless demons, struggle for existence, they are directly attacked by the goddess Durga, who is well equipped with 10 hands with different types of weapons to punish them. She is carried by her lion carrier or the modes of passion and ignorance. Everyone struggles very hard to fight through the modes of passion and ignorance and conquer material nature. But at the end, everyone is vanquished by nature's laws. Not easy, because it's Mama Maya Duratya, very powerful material energy. So they can struggle very hard to overcome it, but in the end they are all conquered. No one can overcome material energy unless
The shade shelter of Krishna.
Tarantite. One must surrender unto the Lord. Mayamiti Parantite. So one has to understand that, otherwise it's going to be very, very difficult. And the other point is the Lord will only. It is up to the to rephrase it. The Lord only gives His mercy. It is up to Him actually. It's not because you did the prayers He will give. It's not a bargaining thing. No, you have to actually have love for the Lord. You have to develop that affection. If you develop that, then He feels compelled in some fashion to come and reciprocate with you. But if you don't develop that affection for Him, no way. You're not going to get anything. You might get something beneficial materially, but not spiritually. Okay.
Prabhu, in the Vaitarini and Viraja river,
Huh?
Vaitarini and Viraja river, which it says that one must.
Oh, it's just between the spiritual and the. It's like a causal ocean, like that. Yeah, in between. Huh?
Both are same.
Viraja and
Viraja river is Vaitara.
It's the same.
Yeah.
Vaitara,
Is that what you
I
asked
thought
me?
it is in hellish.
Hellish, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, Viraja is in spiritual.
But it's the same. It's the same. Right?
But I thought I was reading that Vaitara river, it has two.
Yeah.
Oh, in the 5th canto. Yeah. That's true. But the point here, I think, is this. It's a demarcation which Prabhupada is using it. There's a river known as Vaitarani between material and spiritual. Right? And earlier on he says also, let me see if I. This river of repeatedly suffering the pains of birth and death. Right?
Which verse?
It is in verse 41. Okay, this here it is stated to be in Yamaloka.
Yeah.
But here in this verse 43, it is said between material and spiritual worlds.
This kind of material world is punishment. Prabhupada is directly using.
Let me check something else. It could be some error in the translation, or
No, Vaitarini is given the verse.
I know, but the way they put it, editorial mistake or not, I'm just checking. So he's using it, he's considering the whole material world to be Vaitarani. That's what it is. But then in the purport he says it's a river between material and spiritual worlds. But that is the Viraja river, which is a causal ocean. In any case, I think the way we understand is most people are trying to enjoy the material energy so much, so they are suffering in this cycle of birth, death, and old age. So that is the Vaitarani suffering. So that river is stopping us from going to the spiritual world. So that's how, I think the context is that how Srila Prabhupada is using. And he says one must cross this river to reach the other side or the spiritual world. And he says it's an extremely difficult task. And then he says Devi Yeshu Gunamai. So which means this whole material world is hellish. Now you can accept that. So instead of just the hellish planet with that river, he's saying this whole material creation is hell. Okay? So that is the context I can understand. Yeah. So we can't get out, as I was saying, except by the grace of the Lord or mercy of the Supreme Lord. So that was the point Srila Prabhupada wants to make us understand. And of course, he also says Prahlad Maharaj it was happy and unhappy at the same time. It's at the end of the last paragraph. He felt happiness and transcendent bliss because of his being Krishna conscious, yet he felt great unhappiness for the fools and rascals who make elaborate plans to be happy in this material. That's the mood of a Vaishnava. Very compassionate. He's feeling a lot of unhappiness to see other people suffer. Now, this is like empathy, If you develop empathy, you will feel someone crying, you can feel in yourself also. So the Vaishnavas feel great empathy, true empathy, to see others suffer in the material world and not connect to Krishna. So that is a very exalted Vaishnava. They see like that and they want to help. So which is what Prahlad Maharaj is also showing. Text 44. Prayena deva munaya swamukti kama.
Prayena deva munaya swamukti kama.
Maunam charanti vijanena parathanishta.
Maunam charanti vijanena parathanishta.
Naitan vihaya kripanam vimumuksha eko.
Naitam vihaya kripanam vimumuksha eko.
Nanyam tvad asya sharanam brahmato nupasye.
Nanyam tasya sharanam brahmato nupasye. My dear Lord Narasinghadev, I see that there are many saintly persons indeed, but they are interested only in their own deliverance. Not caring for the big cities and towns, they go to the Himalayas or the forest to meditate with vows of silence, Mauna Vrat. They are not interested in delivering others. As for me, however, I do not wish to be liberated alone, leaving aside all these poor fools and rascals. I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. Therefore, I wish to bring them back to the shelter at your lotus feet. So this is his real exalted feelings for the lost conditioned souls. So Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavad, this is the decision of the Vaishnava, the pure devotee of the Lord. For himself, he has no problems. Even if he has to stay in this material world, because his only business is to remain in Krishna consciousness. So he's always in Krishna conscious, so he doesn't care where he is. But when he sees others suffer, it hurts him a lot. The Krishna conscious person can go even to hell and still be happy. So we shouldn't think like we can go to hell because we won't be happy. Yeah, we are not at that level. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj says, Naivo Dvija Paraduratyaya Vaitaranyaha. Or best of the great personalities, I am not at all afraid of material existence. That's interesting because, So Vaitaranya is compared to material existence. Suffering in like a hell, actually. Hellish existence. Material life is hell anyway. That's the bottom line.
We are not even ready to go to India right now.
So you must see what you can understand from here also, and Prabhupada mentions in the purport that when you become very pure in your heart and serve Krishna, you don't have fear anymore. Wherever you are, you don't mind as long as you can do devotional service. So for them, it's not an issue anymore. They never fear any condition of life.
The inner connection is so strong.
Yeah.
With Krishna.
So for them, they are neutral. No, it doesn't matter what the external situation is. They are in equipoise because they can serve Krishna. So whether they are in Swarga Loka or Naraka Loka, for them it's the same. It's not any issue for them. They are happy to perform devotional activity. So they are also not like the Gyanis who like to sit and meditate. They are not interested in that because they want to do active devotional service. And we don't go to any secluded place and do all that. Prabhupada, for us, what is our secluded place? It's a temple. Yeah. Secluded from the Maya. That's what it is. Okay. So unless we take shelter of the devotees like Prahlad Maharaj and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we cannot be happy. So Srila Prabhupada then says, the members of the Krishna consciousness movement are not at all interested in so-called meditation in the Himalayas or the forest, where one will only make a show of meditation. Right? That's like if your guru is here, everyone is chanting so nicely. Right? They all sit in front of him and chant. So we will only make a show. Now are they interested in opening many schools for yoga and meditation in the cities? So devotees are not interested in those things. But you see nowadays so many yoga schools, meditation centers, and all to waste time and take your money. Rather, every member of the Krishna consciousness movement is interested in going door to door to try to convince people about the teachings of Bhagavad Gita as it is, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. That is the purpose of the Hare Krishna movement. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement must be fully convinced that without Krishna one cannot be happy. So you must be convinced. Okay, you must think about these statements and ask yourself, are you convinced? So if you are, then you will avoid all kinds of pseudo-spiritualists, transcendentalists, meditators, monis, philosophers, and philanthropists. So sometimes devotees get initiated, but they'll go to some other temple to say, oh, there's a nice speaker there. And then they get spoiled by all those things. And then their understanding of Srila Prabhupada's book gets confused. They'll say, no, I will just go to just check them out. But what happens is you get checked out from Krishna consciousness. So you have to be very careful. Similarly, also a lot of devotees, they like to go for all the, Tony Robbins, all these big guys, self-help group. They go there and then they think that is the
Ultimate.
method. By everything will be solved. And then they come and they tell everyone, you have to do this, you have to do that. But what about what Prabhupada said? And so therefore Prabhupada says we should avoid all these people. If they come and talk to us, we just give them prasadam and chant. Tell them to chant. Text 45.
Divan manasijam vishaheta dira.
Kandu diva manasijam vishaheta dira. Sex life is compared to the rubbing of two hands to relieve an itch. Grihamedi, so-called grihastas who have no spiritual knowledge, think that this itching is the greatest platform of happiness, although actually it is a source of distress. The Kripanas, the fools who are just the opposite of Brahmanas, are not satisfied by repeated sensuous enjoyment. Those who are dhira, however, who are sober and who tolerate this itching, are not subjected to the sufferings of fools and rascals, which is a fact nowadays. Everywhere in this society now, sex life is made into a big thing. You go on the road, big billboards, it's always sex life. Whether it's man or woman, they are all only selling sex. Like I said, that is the greatest happiness. So Prabhupada says in this world, they make elaborate plans to satisfy their senses, especially the genitals. But Prabhupada says this is found everywhere, especially found in the Western world, where there are regular arrangements to satisfy sex life in different ways. I think now it's also in India also, no? It's all gone. The culture is gone. Now everyone is like the animals. Eating, mating, sleeping and defending like that. So everywhere they have different arrangements. Right now, what are they doing? They are doing robotics. And the robots also, the big thing they want is have a sexual partner who's a robot. So you don't have to divorce. You can say, stop talking, shut down, and it's true. They are doing a lot of research for sex life. It's a joke. And virtual reality also is the same thing they are saying. So all these are a sad thing. The human life is used for the wrong reason, for sensual enjoyment. So we should be very careful how we mix. Why is this happening? Because there's lack of proper education and culture. So such people who are propagating this are miserly people who just want to enjoy happiness of sex life. And because of them who control this society, the ordinary people are victimized. They are 70, 80 years old, they sell them drugs, pills, so that they can have sex life again. Old men, old ladies, what they want to do. So they say, you'll be happy if you have sex. That's it. But actually, your life is gone. You're going to take a new birth or in some other body. But their goal is still to have sex life. So this society, this civilization is misleading the people because they'll never be happy. Living on sex life can never be. Rather, one should practice austerity, sense control. And then they can appreciate Krishna consciousness. So in the same way, Yamunacharya, he says, Prabhupada quotes him many times. He says, once immediately I take up the devotional service in the transcendental loving service of Krishna, realizing ever new pleasure in him. That means the Lord is Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam. When you connect with the Lord, you get so much happiness, ever increasing. And then he says, when I do devotional service, and if the thought of sex comes into my mind, I get so distaste in my mouth and I spit at that thought. Because Yamunacharya was actually a big king. And he was enjoying sex life until he realized about devotional service. So he felt so bad, he gave it out, spitting in disgust. Text 46.
Nana Viklash Sutadapo Jayanam Swadharma
Nana Vrata Sutadapo Jayanam
Yakya Daho Japa Samadaya Apavargya Raya Param Purusate Jitendriyanam
Raya Param Purushate Jitendriyanam
Varta Bhavantu Tana Vatratutambikanam
Varta Bhavanti Utana Vatratutambikanam. O Supreme Personality of Godhead, there are 10 prescribed methods on the path to liberation. To remain silent, not to speak to anyone, to observe vows, to amass all kinds of Vedic knowledge, to undergo austerities, to study the Vedas and other Vedic literatures, to execute the duties of Varnashram Dharma, to explain the Shastras, to stay in a solitary place, to chant mantras silently, and to be absorbed in trance. These different methods for liberation are generally only a professional practice and means of livelihood for those who have not conquered their senses. Because such persons are falsely proud, these procedures may not be successful. So it's a fact, there are a lot of people who do this. You tell them, please chant Hare Krishna, they say, no, I'm chanting. And then they'll do their own mantra and all. But they don't follow Krishna consciousness. They don't accept the position of Krishna. If it's not connected to Krishna, then it is useless. Right?
The main point is that you have to be conscious.
Yeah, it has to be connected with Krishna, or any of these activities you want to do must be connected with Krishna. Right? Even if you're so good at doing all the austerities and so on, but if you have no connection with Krishna, what is the point? Right? Correct or not?
Very practical.
They will say all the essence, all the scriptures essence is same. Whatever the path we follow, it is same. So
They tell them to show where in the scripture it says. Tell them where's the sloka. So you tell them Harinama, Harinama, Vaikhel, Kalau Nasti. It says Kali Yuga, you do this. You rascal, why are you saying these things? Yeah, you should ask them. Yeah, you want to say. You tell them, I can prove to you. Where is your statement?
Actually, my father itself, he doesn't.
So you tell him. You be like Prahlad. You be like Prahlad Maharaj and tell him, oh, best of the Asuras. You should tell, because they come up with their own philosophy. You know, these all Indian people, they talk like that. Oh, everything is one, everything. Where everything is one? That's Mayavad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not. Yeah. You tell him it's one. You mean you and I are the same? I'm your daughter. I want to remain your daughter. What are you talking this foolish philosophy?
Kind of one, your money is mine.
Yeah. That is what Viraj Swami said when he was in university. When he became a devotee, one man was saying like devotee. He says, I don't believe. We are all one. We are the same. So he said, do you believe? He said, yes. You absolutely believe? Yes. Am I you? He said, yes. You are me and I am you. Okay, now I want your money because it's mine. Then he don't know what to say because he didn't want to admit he's wrong. So he gave the wallet.
Oh my God.
So Maharaj took the wallet and walked away. Then he came running and said, I need money for bus fare. So it's like that. So you can get some material liberation doing this thing, but you can never develop love of God, or you cannot serve devotionally. So we don't recommend these things. One who surrenders fully to Krishna, then it makes sense. Otherwise, everything is all kinds of activities, as Sukadeva Goswami says, Shrama evahi kevalam. It's useless if it's not going to give you attraction for Krishna. At most, you go to higher planetary system, or you get liberated from all the material energy for a while. But that's about it. But still, you have to die and come back. So, in terms of all these activities, Srila Prabhupada tries to connect it with Krishna. So, he says, Mauna, for example, does not mean that one should just stop speaking. Rather, we should speak about Krishna. That is the real Mauna. Sometimes people don't understand what Mauna means. Yeah, there is such a thing as Mauna Vrat, but for Vaishnavas, Mauna Vrat means we only speak of Krishna, not about ourselves or anybody else. That is our Mauna Vrat. But if you speak other things, then it's not Mauna Vrat. Sometimes you go to Japa workshop, they say do Mauna Vrat. So everybody is talking during lunchtime or what, but you're not supposed to. The only thing you should speak is about chanting or about Krishna. Then it's Mauna Vrat. Like that. So Prabhupada says people, if you go to Pandal programs in India, so many, they'll just talk some nonsense. Foolishly they'll talk. Prabhupada says they are speaking like toads and frogs. And then inviting the snake of death. So we should be very careful what we say also. So it should be like that. We should learn how to control our senses, as Rupa Goswami has already stated that. And the other thing is, we shouldn't train ourselves to become big, great speakers. Oh, I speak so well, I can give so nice class. Oh, useless. If you don't have attraction for Krishna. If you yourself are not attracted to Krishna, but you can speak so nicely the verses, what is the point? So we have to also, therefore, remain silent. Right? So there's a saying, right? Better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubts about it. Yeah, like that. Okay, so therefore, we should, if we open our mouth, it should be about Krishna. So Prabhupada says one who's not a devotee must speak nonsensically because he does not have the power to speak about the glories of Krishna. So then in the paragraph after that, Srila Prabhupada says, the 10 processes for liberation or improvement on the path of liberation are not meant for the devotees. So we shouldn't be doing those things. Prahlad Maharaj's proposal is that such processes may be recommended for the Jitendriya, that means those who cannot control their senses. We are trained to control. We eat prasadam, we offer and we chant, so we are trying our best to control. But there are people who cannot control. So for them, they are told to do Maunavrat, all these other activities, like that. As Prahlad Maharaj, chant some mantras, stay in some room, all by yourself, like that. Okay? Because we are using all our senses in the service of the Lord, our senses automatically control. Sarva upadi vinirmukham tatparya nirmalam. Rishikena Rishikesh sevanam bhakti uchite. So we are giving it to Rishikesh, who is controlling our senses. Therefore, we are free from material contamination. Prabhupada then quotes from Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Dusta mana tumi kishera Vaishnava. There are many who like to chant the Hare Krishna mantra in a silent, solitary place. But if one is not interested in preaching, talking constantly to non-devotees, the influence of the modes of nature is very difficult to surpass. So if you do silently in a place, who are you showing off to? That is his point. Who are you trying to show off? Oh, I can chant. Like that. So rather better if you go out and preach to non-devotees instead of sitting in a solitary place. Therefore, unless one is extremely advanced in Krishna consciousness, one should not imitate Haridas Thakur, who had no other business than chanting the holy name always 24 hours a day. He actually chants almost 22 hours, and in 2 hours he does his other activities, and then he continues to chant. So we can't do that, no? Right? He was doing 108 rounds, 192 rounds. Yeah. That's 22 hours. 2 hours only we have hard time.
And so much distraction.
So therefore we cannot imitate. Yes. But we should do our number what we are supposed to do. So the point is, we do not, as Prahlad Maharaj doesn't condemn them, we also shouldn't condemn these people who want to do Maunavrat, sitting silently, chanting their mantras, whatever. But we should try to help them understand what is the goal of life. So simply by thinking I'm good at this, you cannot go back to Godhead. Text 47.
Rupe ime sadasati tava veda shishte.
Rupe ime sarasati tava veda shishte.
Bijankuram iva nachanyad arupakasya.
Bijankuram iva nachanyad arupakasya.
Yukta samaksham ubayatra vichakshante tvam.
Yukta samaksham ubhayatra vichakshante tvam.
Yogena vanam ivadarsu nanyatasya.
Yogena vanimiva darushu nanyatasya. By authorized Vedic knowledge, one can see that the forms of cause and effect in the cosmic manifestation belong to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for the cosmic manifestation is His energy. Both cause and effect are nothing but energies of the Lord. Therefore, O my Lord, just as a wise man, by considering cause and effect, can see how fire pervades wood, those engaged in devotion service understand how you are both the cause and effect. So we know this thing, that the personality of God is beyond everything in this material universe. He has been repeating this point previously, so I'm not going to go into this. Basically, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says the supreme cause can be understood only by devotional service. Bhaktyama Abhijananti. So that is the main thing. Simply trying to understand on your own intelligence, you cannot come to understand how he is the cause and effect of this entire creation. But if you do bhakti, all this knowledge comes to you. The Lord will reveal Himself to you. Then we can see, and we can also accept, oh, He is the person behind all this cause and effect. Text 48. Tvam vayuragniravaniviyalambu matraha
Pranendriyani hridayam chidanugrahascha Sarvam tameva saguno vigunascha bhuman Nanyattvadastapi mano vachasa niruktam
Nanyattvadasyapi mano vachasa niruktam. O Supreme Lord, you are actually the air, the earth, fire, sky, and water. You are the objects of sense perception, the life airs, the five senses, the mind, consciousness, and false ego. Indeed, you are everything, subtle and gross. The material elements and anything expressed, either by the words or by the mind, are nothing but you. So everything is the Lord. Sarvam kalo idam Brahma. Everything is Brahman or everything is Krishna. Like that. Text 49.
Naite gunana gunino mahad adayo ye
Naite gunana gunino mahadadayo ye.
Sarve mana prabhutaya sahadeva martya
Sarve mana prabhutaya sahadeva madhya.
Adyantavanta uragaya vidanti hitvam
Adyantavanta urugaya vidanti hitvam.
Evam vimrishya suryo viramanti sabda
Evam vimrishya sudhiyo viramanti shabda. Neither the three modes of material nature, Sattva Guna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna, nor the predominating deities controlling these three modes, nor the five gross elements, nor the mind, nor the demigods, nor the human beings can understand your Lordship, for they are all subjected to birth and annihilation. Considering this, the spiritually advanced have taken to devotional service. Such wise men hardly bother with Vedic study. Instead, they engage themselves in practical devotional service. If you do anything else, you cannot understand Krishna. That's the point. So, Bhaktyamam Abhijananti. Again, the same point is expressed by Prahlad Maharaj. You don't have to do any austerities, any severe penances, all those things you don't need. Simply do bhakti, devotional service. That's the main point here. Text 50.
Tattirihattama namastuti karma puja Karma smritischaranayo shavanam katayam Samse vayatoi vineti sadam vayakim Bhaktim jana paramahamsa gato labeta
Therefore, Supreme Personality of Godhead, the best of all persons to whom prayers are offered, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, because with our rendering 6 kinds of devotional service unto you, offering prayers, dedicating all the results of activities, worshipping you, working on your behalf, always remembering your lotus feet and hearing about your glories, who can achieve that which is meant for the Paramahansas. Basically, the Lord will offer Himself if you do devotional service nicely. And Srila Prabhupada says, only by the grace of the Supreme Lord can one understand Him. And without bhakti, he is not going to give his grace. Okay? You cannot do any other process in the Vedas. You cannot do any other austerities. You cannot do any karma kanda, jnana kanda, nothing. It will not help you. Okay? Only through the process of bhakti. And then Prabhupada says, even if you do yoga, jnana yoga, or the mystic yoga, Asanga yoga, there must be some bhakti. That means you must connect with Krishna to do those things. Sometimes you see all these jnanis, they'll pray to Krishna, then they read the books. Then the knowledge will be there. If they don't even do those activities, they cannot even learn those activities. So it is like that. So the only way to come to Krishna or to go back to God, as Srila Prabhupada says, is again bhakti. That's all. Okay? Otherwise, you cannot understand who you are worshipping, why you are worshipping, and how to develop affection or love like that. It's not possible. Text 51.
Shri Narada Vacha
Shri Narada Vacha
Etavad Varnita Guno Bhaktya Bhaktena Nirguna
Nirguna
Praharadam Pranatam Prito
Praharadam Pranatam Prito
Yata Manyar Avashata
The great Saint Narada said, thus Lord Narasingha was pacified by the devotee Prahlad Maharaj with prayers offered from the transcendental platform. The Lord gave up his anger and been very kind to Prahlad, who was offering prostrated obeisances. He spoke as follows. The Lord is said to be Nirguna, means without any material qualities. Text 52.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Prarada Bhadra Bhadram Te Hitoham Te Sudottama Varam
Vinish.
Varam Vinishwabhimatam
Vinishwabhimatam
Kamapurosmaham Nrinam
Kamapurosmi Ahamnina. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Prahlad, most gentle one, best of the family of the Asuras, all good fortune unto you. I am very much pleased with you. It is my pastime to fulfill the desires of all living beings, and therefore you may ask from me any benediction that you desire to be fulfilled. Pure devotee don't want any material benedictions, but still the Lord wants to give something. Right? So similarly for us, we cannot approach the Lord directly, so we approach through the spiritual master for our spiritual benediction. So you please the spiritual master and you get all your spiritual desires fulfilled. Okay? That's what he says. Vishwanath Chakravarti says, Yashya Prasada Bhagavat Prasada Yashya Prasada Nagati. So therefore we worship the spiritual master. Text 53.
Mama Prinata Ayushman
Mama Prinata Ayushman
Darshanam Durlabham Hime
Darshanam Durlabham Hime
Drishtva Mamna Punarjantur
Dristvamana Punarjantur
Atmanam Taptam Arhati
Atmanam Tatam Arhati. My dear Prahlad, may you live a long life. One cannot appreciate or understand me without pleasing me. But one who has seen or pleased me has nothing more for which to lament for his own satisfaction. So unless you please the Lord, you cannot be happy under any circumstances. So he gives him a long life. I think at least 1 or 2 manu, that long he lives. Text 54.
Prananti Yatamandira
Prananti Yatamandira
Sarvabhavena Sadava
Sarvabhavena Sadava
Sreyaskama Mahabhaga
Sreyaskama Mahabhaga
Sarvasam Asti Sampatim.
My dear Prahlad, you are very fortunate. Please know from me that those who are very wise and highly elevated try to please me in all different modes of mellows, for I am the only person who can fulfill all the desires of everyone. So he openly tells, you cannot go to anyone to ask for anything you want. Only he can do that. So in the paragraph below, after the verse, he quotes from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. The word Sarva Bhava means that one can love the Supreme Personality of Godhead in different transcendental modes of mellows, beginning with Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. So he's talking about the higher rases. In the Shanta stage, one is on the border of loving service to the Lord. That's why it's called Shanta. They have a love for the Lord, but they don't do much activity like that. Pure love of Godhead begins from Dasya and develops to Sakya, Vatsalya, and then Madhurya. Now, it doesn't mean that you are Dasya Bhav in the spirit, then suddenly you change to Vatsalya, not like that. It means each one is superior to other in terms of the loving propensity, like that, when in comparison. Still, in any of these five mellows, one can render loving service to the Supreme Lord. Since our main business is to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can render service from any of the above mentioned platforms of love. Right, so we can do that. Text 55.
Srinada Vacha.
Srinada Vacha.
Evam Pralobhya Manopi.
Evam Pralobhya Manopi.
Vare Loka Pralobanai.
Vare Loka Pralobanai.
Ekantitvad Bhagavati.
Ekantitva Bhagavati.
Naichatan Asurotama.
Naichatan Asurottama. Narada Muni said, Prahlad Maharaj is the best person in the family of Asuras, who always aspire for material happiness. Asuras are always after material things. They don't accept God. So among them, Prahlad Maharaj, who is a devotee, is the best. Nonetheless, although allured by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who offered him all benedictions for material happiness, because of his unalloyed Krishna consciousness, he did not want to take any material benefit for sense gratification. So he doesn't want anything material. Materialists will be thinking when they read this guy is foolish. Should have asked something. That's how they'll think. They'll think like that. So Prabhupada talks about how even both Prahlad Maharaj and Dhruva Maharaj, when they were approached by the Lord, they refused anything. Particularly Dhruva Maharaj, he wanted a lot of material things. And then when the Lord came, he became so embarrassed. So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, they quote this verse, I think from the Padma Purana one, where he says, Swamin Kritartosmi Varam Na Yache. That I don't want this material. But the Lord says, that's okay. Since you asked, you don't have to worry, you can enjoy all of this. So in the same fashion, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also instructed us in this Shikshashtaka, Nadanam na janam na sundarim kavitam va jagadishakame mama janmani janmaneshware bhavatat bhakti rakiki kahi. O my Lord Jagadisha, I do not pray for benedictions by which to achieve material wealth, popularity, or beauty. My only desire is to serve you. Kindly engage me in the service of the servant of your servant. So that's the end, the Bhakti and the purpose of the 7th Canto 9th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, and Prahlad pacifies Lord Narasingha Dev with prayers. Chapter 10. Prahlad, the best among exalted devotees. Text 1.
Srinada Vacha.
Srinada Vacha.
Bhakti Yogasya Tatsarvam.
Bhakti Yogasya Tatsarvam.
Antarayatayar Bhakka.
Antarayatayar
Manyamano Rishikesham.
Manyamano Rishikesham.
Swayamana Vacha.
Swayamana Vacha. The same Narada Muni continued, although Prahlad Maharaj was only a boy, how old?
5.
5. When he heard the benedictions offered by Lord Narasimhadev, he considered them impediments on the path of devotional service. So when the Lord wanted to give him material things, he immediately felt, this is not good for my spiritual life. We won't say no. They'll say, it's okay, come on. Thus he smiled very mildly and spoke as follows.
And you.
So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada also says that Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, Ambarish Maharaj, Yudhishthira Maharaj, and many devotee kings, all the Kshatriya kings at those days were very, very opulent, very powerful, very opulent. But the interesting thing is they accepted their material opulence in the service of the Lord, not for their personal sense gratification. Yudhishthira Maharaj would collect tax and he'll keep the money. And when the people didn't have anything, he'll give them back the money. Like that. That's how he was serving. So a couple of sentences below, Srila Prabhupada says, whatever he possesses, that means a devotee, he engages 100% in the service of the Lord. So similarly, we also have to come to that stage. We may not be at that stage, but we should try to come to that stage. When one is allured by material possessions, they are considered to be given by Maya. So when you find that you are attracted to something material for sense gratification, you must understand you are being now tricked by Maya. But when you use the material possessions fully for service, they are considered God's gifts or facilities offered by Krishna for enhancing one's devotion. So that means you must try to come to this consciousness where when you have more things in your life, you should use it in the service of Krishna. That way you will then understand the Lord has given me this facility for my purification so that I can use it better in His service. Not thinking, oh, the Lord gave me for my enjoyment, I'm like Dhruva Maharaj, like that. It's going to be difficult, but nice chanting, you will come to that stage. Text 2.
Shri Prahlada Vacha.
Shri Radha Vacha.
Mama Pralabhayot Patya.
Mama Pralabhayotpatya.
Shaktam Kameshu Tervarai.
Shaktam Kameshu Taivarai.
Tatsangavito Nirvino.
Tatsangavito Nirvigno.
Mumukshus Tvam Upashita.
Mumukshusvam Upashitaha. Prahlad Maharaj said, my dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, because I was born in an atheistic family, I am naturally attached to material enjoyment. Therefore, kindly do not tempt me with these illusions. I am very much afraid of material conditions and I desire to be liberated from materialistic life. It is for this reason that I have taken shelter of your lotus feet. He is genuinely feeling it. And he's saying, I'm from a Asura Kula. And we like to enjoy material things. So please don't do this. I can't handle this. That's what he's saying. So he's genuinely feeling that he'll fall down. In the purport, Prabhupada writes, this attachment to the body and the relation to the body is based on lusty desires for sense gratification, specifically sexual enjoyment. This is very common nowadays. Kama istya rita jnana. When one is too attached to material enjoyment, he is bereft of all knowledge. Rita jnana. Rita means gone. Knowledge. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, those who are attached to material enjoyment are mostly inclined to worship the demigods, to procure various material opulences. So now you know why people like to worship Durga and Shiva, because they all want something material. And it's stated later on in the Bhagavatam, the 10th Canto, It is stated like that. Why people worship Lord Shiva? Because they get a lot of material opulence.
Bola Shank.
Huh?
Like he gives whatever we want.
Yeah. Whatever you ask, he'll give. He's very kind. Like that. Prabhupada says, because this transcendental couple can offer their devotees all material opulence. Because they are very merciful, actually. Both Parvati and Shiva, Durga and Shiva. Of course, pure devotees are not attached to such things. They don't want such things because they see it as obstacles. You understand? Sometimes you wonder what is the obstacle in your spiritual life? It's the material things that you hanker for. You sometimes don't know that you're hankering for it, but it is there. Maybe subconsciously you're thinking, maybe I should sell my stock and then get a brand new car. I really need it. I deserve it. Right? Sometimes we say, I've done so many nice things, so I have the right to spend some money. I deserve it. This is my birthday gift. Early birthday gift. Things like that they talk, right? Huh?
I gift myself.
Yeah, I gift myself early gift, early birthday gift, anniversary gift, They can do it. Or they buy it for their wife, but they use it themselves, right? A lot of cases they say, oh, buy a brand new car for my wife, but then they'll be driving like that, huh?
It's not my car. I am just a driver.
Hare Krishna. Nimitta matra.
Driver matra.
Yeah.
One question.
Yes.
So Lord Shiva is also a pure devotee,
Yes.
but he also benedicts people
Yeah.
out with material opulence.
Yeah. He's also known as Ashutosha.
Ashutosh.
He is very kind to whoever worship him. He's so kind that when they ask him for any material things, he blesses them. Yeah.
Which is not good for them. The ultimate.
Yeah, but because he's so quickly pleased, he also quickly gives. He just wants to get rid of them so he can meditate on Krishna. That's the reason.
Vaishnava is very merciful.
Yeah, but in his situation, he has so many things to take care of. He's like a,
When he blessed, they all reached Krishna Loka only.
yeah,
He
mostly.
gave Ravana benediction. Ram killed him and he went back.
Yeah, but that is a different
That we
case.
cannot-
Bhashmasura, same thing.
No, some of them they go to the Brahma Jyoti. Yeah. All the other
they
devotees.
get liberated. They don't.
Not necessarily. Yeah. Unless they're killed directly by Narayana, Krishna, they won't go back to God. Yeah.
So Prabhupada wouldn't give anything material for us. Prabhupada, for example, he's a pure devotee. He wouldn't give us anything material, but not sure. Like I think.
You see, generally who worship him? Materialists, So therefore, for that materialists, they don't have the adhikar to even take up the devotional practice. So the Lord Shiva therefore kindly gives them the material things. So at least they will be contented and keep worshipping him. So in due course of time, they can come to the mode of goodness and understand the difference of what worship is beneficial. So therefore he gives. But if a devotee worship him like Prachetas, right? He gave them the prayers to worship Vishnu or Krishna, right? So you cannot say he is not acting properly. He is acting correctly.
I'm trying to understand
Yeah, but now you understand. He does it because of the desire of the bhakta. Sometimes if a foolish person come to you and you say it's not good for you, they get angry, right? They'll throw their own dandava, and with Lord Shiva will think, I'm supposed to do that, you're doing that. So therefore he will say, okay, I'll give you, so you go. And of course he has also made mistakes. Remember, he gave to that Vritasura, no?
No.
Vritasura. That he can touch. Yes. And it's kind of strange. And then Narayan later tell him, what kind of boon you gave him?
Like balls coming.
Yeah. So the guy say, I want to test first. It must be from Microsoft. They want to test first before they buy. Like that, So yeah, so Srila Prabhupada says, continuing, that if you really want to get out of this material world, and from the effects of the three modes of material energy, one should take the shelter of Krishna. It's again and again, it's the same thing. You may say, I've heard it so many times, but we don't act on it. So that's why Prabhupada keeps saying the same information. So we will act on it, and then we will get benefit from that. So then, in the last sentence, Srila Prabhupada, second last sentence, he says, therefore, if they get some opportunity to achieve more and more material enjoyment, they take it. Now, who are these? The Asuras. Prahlad Maharaj, however, was very careful in this regard. What is that he was careful about? That he did not want to enjoy material things. Like he didn't want any material desires because he saw his own father getting angry with Krishna himself. And he loves Krishna. So he says, if I get the same opportunity like my father, I'll become like my father. So that was his fear, which is, he genuinely felt that way. Text 3.
Vritya Lakshana
Jinashu. Vritya Lakshana Jinashu.
Bhaktam Kameshu Achodayat.
Bhaktam Kameshu Achodayat.
Bhavan Samsara Bijeshu.
Bhavan Sansara Bijeshu.
Hridaya Grantishu Prabhu.
Hridaya Grantishu Prabhu. O my worshipable Lord, because the seed of lusty desires, which is the root cause of material existence, is within the core of everyone's heart, you have sent me to this material world to exhibit the symptoms of a pure devotee. This is very nice. Because that lusty propensity to enjoy material energy is with all of us. We came to this material universe, all of us have it. The only way we can get it out is through the guidance of a pure devotee, like Srila Prabhupada. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada very nicely says that two types of devotees, Nitya Siddha and Sadhana Siddha. Nitya Siddha means eternally they are perfect. Sadhana Siddhas are like us. We are trying our best to practice the sadhana and then become perfect. Couple of lines down, she says, a Nitya Siddha devotee comes from Vaikuntha. It could be Goloka, could be Ayodhya, could be any of the Vaikuntha planets. Upon the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and shows by his example how to become a pure devotee. That means they have no desire for karma, jnana, anything. Impersonalistic views, speculation, nothing like that. In spite of coming to this material world, the Nitya Siddha devotee is never attracted by the allurements of material enjoyment. So that's the difference. When we came, we are attracted to material nature, and so we are trying to enjoy it. But when the Nitya Siddhas, they come, they are never bothered by the material enjoyment. And in this context, Srila Prabhupada says the perfect example here is Prahlad Maharaj. He is also a Mahabhagavat, not only a Nitya Siddha. Okay, then a few sentences down, Prabhupada says, in other words, the Lord himself has no desire to send his pure devotee to this material world. That means actually the Lord doesn't want to send them. Nor does the devotee have any material purpose in coming. So they also don't want to come. Okay, so all these advanced pure devotees don't want to come actually. When the Lord himself appears as an incarnation within this material world, he is not allured by the material atmosphere. And he has nothing to do with material activity. Yet by his example, he teaches the common man how to become a devotee. So in this case, it's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Similarly, a devotee who comes here in accordance with the order of the Supreme Lord shows by his personal behavior how to become a pure devotee. A pure devotee, therefore, is a practical example for all living entities, including Lord Brahma. So it's very important. Actually, the devotee in the spiritual world don't want to leave Krishna, don't want to leave Narayana. They're happy. And then Narayana say, please go, they'll cry. Then Lord say, I'll be most pleased if you do that. Then they come. And that's how they come to help us, because they're doing it as a service for the Lord. Because this is a terrible place to come. So therefore they don't want to come. But because the Lord is compassionate, they also are compassionate. To please the Lord, they come. Alright, so we'll stop here. Any comments, questions? Yes.
So, probably Krishna says, like, if you come to spiritual world, you never go back.
Yes.
To the eternal place. But how we are here?
Because you wanted to come.
But Krishna says we will never go back.
So
After you go back, you don't come back.
it's once you go back.
First time you got the place, you look around, you say, I'm not interested. Yeah, that's why you came. When you were created, you have all full knowledge. But the knowledge is to serve. But you didn't want to serve. So then there's no choice. You have to come here. Yeah. So that is why we all came here. We all didn't want to serve. Others, they served, they became Nitya Siddhas. So we became Nitya Baddhas. So we are stuck here. But we have the opportunity to go back. And that is why he comes in avatars, to attract us, then we can go back. Because our original home is there. We have left there. We're trying to enjoy this material energy. We are not successful so far. You can see Hiranyakashipu wasn't successful. What to speak of us? Like that.
Prabhu, this last line,
Yeah.
pure devotee, therefore, is a practical example for all living entities, including Lord Brahma.
Yes.
But Lord Brahma is our Paramparacharya. He's
You have to understand the context, Prabhupada is saying. Including Lord Brahma means including the firstborn. He could be a pure devotee, he may not be pure. Right. Yeah.
in the general context of a Brahma.
Yes, I think that's what he's saying. For all living entities from the top to down.
Yes.
He's an example. Anytime a pure devotee comes, they will show above and beyond what even the Guna avatars sometimes do. Yeah. Like that, yeah. That's how I understood that. Maybe it's not in the sense of a pure devotee, but it's like that. Just like when Sukadeva Goswami spoke, Narada was listening to.
So Madhvacharya in his writings, whenever the Brahma Vimoshan Lila and all,
He will not write.
he will not write anything
Yes,
because
he didn't want to offend. Yes.
Brahma. It's a very different one.
Yeah, so he's you have to know Madhvacharya is from what's his from where he's coming from, whereas the other acharyas who they are personal associates of Radha and Krishna, so their mood is different. They are not seeing it as a negative. They are saying this is the position, this is how it is. Yeah, but Madhvacharya didn't want to because of he was showing how you should respect your acharya.
Paramparacharya.
Because if you speak badly of them, then you will take the incorrect position. So I accept that what he said. But I think we have to understand he's exalted, but we shouldn't compare him to our level. Just like when he gets bewildered, it's different from our getting bewildered. We already bewildered. Whereas he will get bewildered sometimes by the Lord's energy. That's different. Okay.
Prabhu, Hiranyakashipu, anyway, he is also devotee of the Narayana. You know, they say he was in the.
Yeah, but he doesn't know that. He doesn't know that.
But he becomes. If he doesn't know why he so much.
That's why he just like us, we also don't know.
We don't.
So
That is the
we
example.
huh?
That is how God is saying that even though we know, we are not able to.
Exactly.
Okay.
We all know, we study, and then we still can't show the full surrender. He is covered completely, he doesn't even know. I mean, internally he is pure, but in the context of a Hiranyakashipu demon, he's acting the play. He doesn't know. He's thinking this is a animal is coming to destroy me, I'll kill. And he's angry about Vishnu himself. It's interesting, but that's the Leela of the Lord. He has arranged it in such a way. Sometimes in drama you have the person acts so realistically, you think, is he like that? Right? Yeah. But after the drama is over, they all happily going home. In that context, you can say. Yeah. That is how it is. Yeah. Okay. Tomorrow we'll